And we want to thank you for joining us here at 11 o'clock. I'm Jonathan Gonzalez.
And I'm Kathy Vara. Dueling images describing this day. Downtown L.A. peaceful until the late afternoon. And then clashes with law enforcement, leaving at least 7 officers injured.
And all of this happening 1 week after protests over the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. In D.C., President Trump spent the day celebrating the might of American military on the Army's 250th birthday.
Let's get to what's happening right now in downtown L.A. Just within the last hour, we saw protesters detained and placed in police vans for breaking the nightly curfew that went into effect at 8 p.m.
And tonight we're still seeing protests in other areas of Southern California. This is video from Riverside, Santa Ana, and Anaheim.
Tonight's protests are what is left of dozens of No Kings events planned across Southern California today to push back against what organizers describe as authoritarian policies from the president. This map showing locations of just some of them.
Our team of reporters are fanned out across the Inland Empire, Orange County, and LA County, bringing you live coverage right here on the air and on the NBC Los Angeles News Channel throughout the day. Those events taking place in areas like Van Nuys, Pasadena, Riverside, downtown LA, and Santa Monica.
Let's zero in on downtown LA. At the peak of today's protest, the LAPD says there were 30,000 people there. But just after 4 o'clock, they declared an unlawful assembly when objects were thrown at officers. And that is when law enforcement moved in using tear gas, flashbangs, and officers on horseback. Our Robert Kovacic was the first to hear from the LAPD chief, Jim McDonnell, after it all. And he is live downtown with his comments and what's happening there right now. Robert.
And it was Chief Jim McDonnell echoing Mayor Karen Bass, saying that the curfew is working. So the curfew is in place here tonight. The LAPD outside of LAPD headquarters also in place tonight. And though it is quieter and though it is calmer, there is still pockets of problems. Just minutes ago, we witnessed about a half a dozen protesters zip-tied and taken into custody. Probably curfew violators, and we also saw the LAPD seen confiscating cans of spray paint. But this was not the day Jim McDonnell wanted. As you are about to hear in a transparent one-on-one interview with the chief, his first while officers were faced with protesters who did not disperse today, the chief talks to NBC4 and says what was aimed at the members of the LAPD and other law enforcement agencies now includes fireworks modified to turn into weapons.
Yeah, these are anarchist types, by whatever title you want to call these people. They're people who come in, hide their identity, get hoodied up, masks, gloves, the whole thing, and they're here to do damage to the city and to people within the city. And so we will not tolerate that.
Tell me about the injuries to the officers as far as you know. Nothing serious, but what exactly happened?
A variety of different types of injuries. Officers have been hit in the face with bottles, with rocks, with all sorts of missiles. Missiles have been fired at officers, commercial level fireworks. We've heard about those being doctored up with shrapnel in the front of them. And so we're watching out for all of that thing, but nobody comes out here to be subject to that kind of violent attack or the potential for that.
Wait, so I'm clear. They were hit by fireworks attached with shrapnel to them?
I don't know that our officers were hit with those, but we have found those, and we put out a warning to our officers about those. BBs or something taped to the firework, and when it explodes, then it can spread those in a very dangerous way.
They're throwing boxes, they're throwing bottles. Now we have to worry about these fireworks.
Right.
Have these people been arrested? Have we managed to get these people that have injured our officers?
You know, I will say that we have arrested some of those people. Many others will be arrested. That's a case that we will not let this go. We will follow up and be able to hold people accountable that think they've gotten away with a lot here.
You're disappointed with how things have transpired today, Jim?
I'm disappointed that it started out so peaceful and we ended up then with officers being attacked. And yeah, I'm disappointed in people who come out and do that kind of thing and really take away the rights of people who want to come out and express their views.
After Jim McDonnell finished speaking one-on-one with NBC4, I said, have you thought about the damage? And he said, damage? Robert, just look across the street. And there is, you see, a bus depot that has just been completely shredded. He's blaming that on protesters. There is a lot now when the sun rises, Kathy and Jonathan, to assessing the number of protesters injured, assessing the number of protesters that have been arrested and or detained. Also, when it comes to law enforcement members, Sheriff Luna doesn't know just how many of his deputies have been injured. As far as Jim McDonnell is concerned, he talked about members of the LAPD. He said they were transported to various hospitals, and he was going to visit them there. He said none of them are going to have to spend the night, but he said the number right now of injured LAPD officers stands at 7, but that possibly could go higher. We are live here in downtown Los Angeles, outside of LAPD headquarters. I'm Robert Kovacic. Let's go back to you.
Robert, thank you. Now, the organizing group behind the No Kings protest has released a statement tonight saying, in part, while the official No Kings event concluded earlier in the day, many remained in the streets to continue their nonviolent dissent. The escalation came from law enforcement, not protesters, who responded with tear gas and violent crowd suppression. We unequivocally condemn this unnecessary and aggressive use of force, and we stand with every person who chose peace in the face of provocation.
Just as protests were happening across our area, new video appears to show an immigration operation in Santa Fe Springs today. It happened at the Santa Fe Springs Swap Meet, a large retail and concert space.
Well, I saw they just ran in there like if it was somebody, like animals, just like if we're animals. They run in there and they just run in there like if they're gonna go get animals out of a cage or something, you know, like scared.
People just, walking out really fast with their kids. The kids were like in their faces. You could see the fear in their faces and the tears. Like, it was just crazy.
People who were at the swap meet today say they were there for the Father's Day concert. And as these immigration operations continue, many of us are wondering what is next.
LA Mayor Karen Bass joined us for a one-on-one interview shortly after she and LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell monitored the protests by helicopter.
Part of the challenge that we're dealing with here is the absolute uncertainty because we have no idea what the administration is going to do. Here's what I do know, though. If the raids stop, Los Angeles will go back to normal because that is where we were the day before the raids. But with this administration that is very unpredictable, we really don't know. So what I am hoping for in the next week is that some level of communication will open up. Right now, everybody is functioning by rumors. There were all these sightings of the Marines over here and the National Guard over there. It was wonderful that I had an opportunity to get this perspective of being in the helicopter. And I can tell you, I saw no Marines anywhere, and we went all over the city.
Now, all of this was happening here in Southern California and across the country today. President Trump held an unprecedented parade to mark 250 years of the U.S. Army. There was some support and criticism over the celebration. Our Conan Nolan reports.
It was billed as a celebration of the 250th anniversary of the founding of the United States Army, with thousands of troops and armaments marching past the White House on Constitution Avenue, commemorating the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and the 2 Gulf Wars, all overseen by President Donald Trump, flanked by First Lady Melania Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. Thousands having lined the streets. Many, if not most, said they were here to support the president, whose birthday happens to fall on the same day as the Army's.
Just want to come and celebrate, not just the Army, but Trump's birthday too.
I hope this sends a loud signal to all these countries that think that they can mess with the United States.
What are you hoping to catch a glimpse of?
Trump.
Yeah.
In a tank, just like Santa.
The parade itself, one of controversy and taking place in a split screen with hundreds of No Kings protests across the nation. The Pentagon had planned a much more low-key celebration of the Army's birthday. It was President Trump who called for a massive parade, price tag from $25 to $45 million, with some expecting the cost to climb higher. Part of the criticism that the president had politicized the military for his own benefit. Retired 4-star General Barry McCaffrey citing the president's speech at Fort Bragg, North Carolina recently, where he condemned the political leadership of California and Los Angeles.
It was disgraceful using the military as props for wildly inappropriate political talk. Now, having said that, the 250th birthday of the United States Army is pretty important for the country to have an opportunity to thank soldiers who ended slavery, defeated Nazism, after post 9/11, went after our terrorist enemies globally.
There is no earthly force more powerful than the brave heart of a U.S. infantryman or an Army Ranger, paratrooper, or Green Beret. They are the best. They are the finest.
Conan Nolan, NBC4 News.
Now, NBC News asked nearly 20,000 Americans if they support using government funds for a military parade. The result, a clear majority, 64%, said they either strongly or somewhat oppose the idea. 36% expressed support.